Hi folks, welcome back to the Model 3 Man channel, and just before we start, two quick things. Number one, you can see I'm not inside, I'm in my back garden. And the reason for that is that my brother has just come over from South Africa, time zone shift of about 12 hours. He's crashed out and sleeping inside, and I promised I wouldn't do anything to awaken him. So we're gonna have today's session out in the garden. And number two, anyone local, that means if you live in Vancouver, I will be putting on a James Taylor concert this Friday evening. It's a combination garden potluck supper, and then at 8 o'clock the concert that myself and the band and Janine, Dragon Lady, will be playing in. If you want to, please just contact me. Put a comment below, and we can make sure that the garden's not already overflowing with people. There are still places, and if you want to, and you're a James Taylor fan, this could be your evening. Let me know in the comments down there. Now, I've had full self-driving now for over a month, and I've deliberately taken the time to get to know it and to understand it, and not just to mindlessly film every single drive that I take, but to try and see the patterns in what full self-driving beta is capable of right now. So, here it is today, from this seat, not in the car driving, but as a result of the experience I've gained. 20 full self-driving behaviors that you should know about. Behavior number one, lane choices. There's a lot of negative in this one. I've been driving along, and the turn off to get onto the freeway on-ramp is on the left lane. I'm driving in the middle lane. I hear the indicator go on, but instead of turning left into the left lane to get onto the freeway, it goes right. Well, at that point I wrench the wheel and swing across to get into the left on-ramp lane, but I don't understand, because the map shows that it knows where to go, that it has to take the turn. It just didn't do it. And I've had several instances where it picked a completely inappropriate lane, and so lane choices at this point I give a bit of a strike to, and it needs to be improved. Number two, moving into the fast lane when behind slow traffic. In general, it's pretty good. It indicates and moves quite quickly, but in my mind sometimes perilously, because it will indicate and start moving, and there's a car that I would never have jumped that gap as a human driver. So many times when the car does that and begins to move, I chicken out and I cancel. So I think there could be more judicious use made of waiting for a space and then accelerating quickly to move into it. So I'm not saying that it doesn't get into the faster lane, it does, but sometimes it annoys the car behind, where a human would indicate, wait to see if the car behind is dropping back and then move in. Number three, left-hand cornering. Well, this has been spoken about a lot, but what I found is that by and large, when the car moves to the left and it's finally decided that it is safe, it is very erratic and jerky, and the steering wheel will do this and twitch and jerk and really make me feel like I'm a novice driver and fear what the people behind are thinking. I don't have a sign that says full self-driving tester or learner driver. I should actually put one of those up in the car. So turning right is generally pretty smooth, but making a 90-degree turn to the left can result in some very odd behavior. Cornering to the left, done by a human, is very smooth. Take a line, move into it. If you're slightly off one way or the other, you correct as you're going. Excepting the car does that, and I'm not comfortable with left-hand turning at this point in time. Number four, the maximum speed for various sections of the road is often incorrect. For example, we have a section that is 40 kilometers per hour and posted as such, and the car drops it to 30 kilometers. Now, is it retrieving that data from the Google Maps? Is that inaccurate? But I had thought that the car was using its cameras to read posted road signs and to act upon them. It does not appear to be doing that. It certainly missed the 40-kilometer sign every single time I take that road going down Mountain Highway before the bends. I get that weird 30k maximum, and I have to push it up on the wheel to 50 because nobody slows down around those corners. Number 5, Sometimes, inexplicably, it will stop in the middle of an intersection, as if it sees some danger that I do not, or some person that might be about to run. But you can't stop in the middle of an intersection. It is so dangerous. So all I do is I quickly jam my foot on the accelerator to keep it moving. But I'm not clear at this point why the car feels a need to stop for dangers that I cannot even detect and that I do not even see when I've done a recording of that trip. Number 6, when other cars merge into my lane, it does an extremely good job of allowing them in. It's very, very intelligent. It's very discreet. The car on the right lane begins to move left, sometimes indicates, sometimes doesn't. And Red Dragon inevitably slows, holds back a little, and lets the car in. So I'm very impressed with the way that it allows other vehicles to merge from the right or from the left on occasion. Very smooth and very, very human-like, if we can coin that phrase. Number 7, by contrast, my car merging onto a freeway, coming out of the off-ramp, getting into the right-hand lane of the freeway, is awful. Here's what it does. It travels down the on-ramp. It waits until the very last 10, 15 meters, and then indicates and suddenly jerks to the left. Now, any human driver, the minute they're on the on-ramp and the freeway lane is dotted, will begin to move into the freeway, into that right lane, so long as there are no cars coming. In other words, we take the earliest opportunity. The full self-driving beta is taking the last opportunity it possibly can, taking it at the latest. And that's not like a human does it. And it's very disconcerting, and the car jerks into the lane, and you don't feel rested or comfortable with that. Number 8, there's an interesting behavior when you're heading toward a green light intersection. So it's on green, the car will be traveling at normal speed, and then as it gets close enough, it'll slow down a little. And then when it's on the intersection, it'll speed up and it'll go right through. Now, I do understand that behavior. It's cautious that if the light should suddenly change and it has to make an abrupt stop, at least it's already begun the slowing down. On the other hand, no, there's no other hand. I can't fault it for that. It's weirdly unhuman because we accelerate to make sure we get through the light, we put foot. And the car cautiously sits back until it can determine, yes, I can actually do it, I can make it, and then it goes through. So that's just an interesting behavior, but it does err on the side of safety. And number 9, this is a bad one. You can see the intersection's red ahead. You can see that there's a ton of cars. And the touch screen actually shows that the cars are ahead of us. But the car barrels along at the posted speed of 50 or 60 kilometers an hour, heading toward, and then brakes hard to stop. Any human driver sees the red lights, sees the cars and the congestion, and begins slowing down right away. Takes the foot off the accelerator, makes it gradual to come to a gradual stop. But not the car, not Red Dragon. It barrels along and then brakes hard and stops. There's no excuse for that kind of thing when the car is capable of detecting what is ahead and the fact that the lights are red. Number 10, driving through zones of construction with traffic cones on either side and erratic changes in the direction of the road is handled very poorly. I've almost knocked over cones on several occasions. I've had the car shriek at me, "Take over, take control," because it didn't know where to go. It didn't seem to understand that if it just stayed between the cones, middle of the cones, and turned with them, it would be fine. So normal cones seems to be okay. Straight road, it seems to do it fine. Any weird changes of direction with the cones, it does not handle well, and it calls out to me to take over control again. Point 11, in the same vein, if I'm traveling through a construction zone and there are construction workers, they'll often have a sign saying slow. And I know a lot of people ignore that, but you shouldn't. Sign says slow. The construction worker is gesturing toward the direction the car should go. It really does not seem to take any notice of that because if it sees the slow sign, it should automatically drop in speed right down. Often it has not. But worse is, of course, it doesn't seem to understand movements and gestures by a construction worker, and I think that's a pretty important failing, because it looks like you're being rude to them by simply ignoring their requests. So the engineers working on full self-driving beta should really look at how does the car interpret human beings who are clearly construction workers and are conveying some kind of direction to the drivers. Number 12, we talked about left-hand turns, not good. Right-hand turns, by contrast, are very good. I only had one problem. The car took the corner a little too tight, and it actually rode over the sidewalk. Well, the sidewalk wasn't a normal height sidewalk. It was kind of a bump in the road, but it just drove straight over it. So it does need to improve looking at where the boundary of the actual road is before it abuts on the sidewalk and actually does damage to the car's tires. But right-hand turns are very, very smooth. Now, one of the disconcerting aspects of turning a corner is a human being will turn the corner, smoothly go into that corner, and smoothly accelerate out of it. What the car does, it's telling me to drink. We'll get to that later. What the car does is it begins to turn, and the minute that the wheels are straight, it accelerates like a bat out of hell. I don't know if you've heard that saying, but apparently that's fast. So it accelerates quickly and pushes forward, and my goodness me, is that disconcerting to the passengers. So I think a smoother uptick of speed would be better, and it's easy to change. It's an algorithm, and they can change the ramp-up speed after a corner has been turned. Point number 14. If the roads change, as has recently happened with the off-ramp into Mountain Highway, it changed completely, and the turning lane is much sooner. The car ignores it. It's almost as if it's working according to the information it has in its mapping database. And it sails right on, and then suddenly tries to turn once it's already too late to enter that lane, and it puts on the indicator, it slows down. Again, you could get smacked from behind if you try and do that. So it does not take account of the sign that says Mountain Highway and the new lane that is clear and well marked. It doesn't take account of that. It sticks rigidly to the information it has in the mapping database and simply obeys that rather than what is self-evident. Now, I only say this because Elon has made the point that vision is done through the camera system, and what the car will see, it will act on, unless it's a road that has changed and it's not familiar with it. So there's an area where the visual camera perception has to interpret the new position, the new location of a turnoff, and follow that rather than the information in the map database. Number 15, this is an annoying one. So we have a lot of buses in North Vancouver. Many times the buses pull over and stop and the hazard lights come on. Almost every time the car, my car, comes up almost just behind the bus and then stops, and then indicates to go left, and indicates where there's cars flowing past me on the left-hand side, and it begins turning, which again makes no sense at all. Instead of which, as we're approaching the bus and it sees the hazard lights flickering on the bus, it should be going into the left lane right away at the first opportunity, not waiting until it's up at the back of the bus to determine that it can't go any further and it's probably good to move into the passing lane. So I think that's a behavior that will probably be changed in an upcoming update, but right now it's very frustrating. Now, point number 16, a lot of people have mentioned the fact that there is still phantom braking. If I go through a part of the road where there's a lot of dappled shade and sunshine, kind of a mixture of both, and the car sees that, it just slows down. It literally drops 5, 10, 15 kilometers an hour to see what's happening there. So the issue of shadows and possible obstacles is still real. Phantom braking is still real, still something to be improved on. Number 17. People avoidance is very good. It's almost to the point of obsession. The car will see a person, if they step into the road or they're crossing the road or any reason that a person is in the road, the car really slows right down, gives it a wide berth, gives the human a wide berth, and then moves on around it. So I've got no complaints about how it treats human beings. In my experience, it's been very, very cautious, very safe around a person, whether or not that person happens to be in the road. Even if they look like they're about to step there, the car is aware and behaves appropriately. After all, we really don't want to be killing anyone. We want to try and keep most of the pedestrians alive that we encounter. And number 18, accelerating from an intersection. Overall, it's very good. It's a little slow to start. I'd like it to jump out a little quicker, but very, very shortly after it starts moving, it picks up acceleration and gets to the posted 55k, 50k, whatever it happens to be in your area. It gets to that posted speed very quickly. So I'm impressed with that. It used to be very slow and people behind would honk and that was embarrassing. But now I really enjoy the way that it takes off, and I think it's a very positive development. Number 19 is one of my pet peeves, and I've had it for a long time. If the road widens, the car feels an inexplicable need to quickly move to the right and occupy the center of a very wide lane, which often coincides with a person behind thinking that they can slip by on the right because the road's so wide. Instead, the car should be sticking to the center line. In other words, the line on the left edge of the car should be staying maybe 2 feet away from that and not just spreading itself out to say, well, I've got plenty of room now. It's a wide road. Let me just go into the center. Stick to the dotted line on the left of the car when the road widens would be the way a human would drive. Would definitely make sure that we do not veer all across the road just because of a widening road. Number 20, traffic circles. I think in the previous video you saw me comment on a traffic circle that I entered, and it exited one turn off too soon, which necessitated a complete rerouting of the car's mapping to get to a place that was just around the corner. It now had to go around several blocks, back into the main road again, back out again, just to get where it should have been. Now, how does it do that? Because on the map, you could see the blue line go up around the circle and continue in a straight line. But it went up, turned into the circle, and immediately went right, 90 degrees. That's crazy. So look, let me be positive. There's a lot of good in full self-driving. I'm constantly blown away. I'm constantly stunned by the fact that it is able to navigate and to turn and to put the indicator on and to move in the correct lane when it does that, to follow safely, to accelerate quickly when needed. It's doing a great job. But there are these little 3, 4, 5% of edge cases that are really making passengers nervous. Not me, because I'm ready to take over at a moment's notice. But the passengers are like, oh, come on, just drive the car yourself, Peter. So I'm very encouraged by where we've got to. I'm encouraged to look forward to the next update. But I really believe that it's not far off. Just a dramatic improvement of seeing the car driving in places it's never gone before, and yet handling it very competently, gives me the confidence that it's not far off that Tesla will have it. They'll make it work. There are always going to be edge cases. For example, parking in a grassy field when you're going to a concert, and somebody indicates and says, go there, go there. What does the car do? There are no marked lines, there's no roads, there's nothing but open field. I call those edge cases, and really, I'm quite happy to take over the car in those situations. But to get it to be 99% safe on roads will be the breakthrough that leads to the advent of robo-taxis, where a whole new adventure would lie ahead. That's it for today. I will be going on a 7-day cruise with said brother and next brother that's coming tomorrow. We're going to enjoy it. so I won't be posting for at least a week, but when I come back, I'll begin posting videos once again. So thank you very much for all of your support, and remember, if you do want to come to the concert, do let me know in the comments below, and I'll simply reply to the comment and give you details. Thanks again, folks, and we'll see you soon.